So I was interacting on an Aaron Doughty video, and he was liberating a young girl from chasing validation to being chased, right? From pursuing self-worth to assuming it. And there was someone in the comment section in one of the threads that I was engaging with, and they asked the question. They asked, how do you love yourself? And that question, it really inspired a lot of sympathy and a lot of care, but it also made me really sad, because if you're somebody who's asking a question like that, for me, it shows that the damage has already been done. You've been wounded, you've been hurt. And it's a very common thing, but it doesn't make it any less, heartbreaking to read it. And so I wanted to make this video talking about, how do you love yourself, right? And so let's talk about the question first off. How do you love yourself? Partly why that question reveals so much is because of just how it's framed. How do you love yourself? You're coming from a place of, the love isn't there, so how do I get to it? And in that sense, the question is backwards, right? Because self-love, loving yourself, is baseline. That is your default. Okay, it's a lot like breathing. If anyone came up to you and said, how do I breathe? I'm having a hard time breathing. How do I breathe? Can you show me how to breathe? What do I need to buy? What outfit do I need to put on? What shoes do I need to purchase? What club do I need to get into? Can you show me how to breathe? Can you teach me how to breathe? And with that metaphor, it should become clear to you is, if breathing is not happening, it's not like you need to learn something. It's not like you need something outside of yourself. It's more like there is something in the way of you doing what you're meant to be doing. There's something blocking you from normality. And so that needs to be removed. Okay, we need to remove whatever is in the way of you loving yourself. It's not like we need to buy you tickets to some concert, or you need to read some new book, or you need some method of manifesting self-love. It's like, no, that's your baseline. And so if that's not happening, then there's something blocking it. And it could be trauma. Oftentimes it's a trauma. Sometimes it could be you're just around people who are speaking to you less kindly than you deserve to be spoken to. It could be that you're being mistreated and you are assuming that the mistreatment is a reflection of your worth and how much you should love yourself and how you should view yourself. It could be a variety of different things, but whatever the case is, it's not a matter of adding something. It's more like removing, getting rid of, unlearning, undoing. And then when you do that, self-love just happens naturally, right? Just so you know, you weren't born doubting yourself. You weren't born looking at yourself and making judgments of, oh, this is bad and this should be different, and my voice is wrong, and how I walk is wrong, how I look is wrong. Like, you weren't born doing that. These are things, standards that were given to you, impressed upon you, and those voices have now shifted from sounding external to sounding internal. They sound like your own voice, but it's not your voice. Even if you're the one saying it, it didn't come from you. You're not the source of that. And your source, your internal source, it's so hard to even put it into words, because it is beyond words. Is your source, if I could try and put it into words, it's peace. It's a yearning for fun and connection and laughter and enjoyment. It's not striving. It's not proving. It's not trying. It's being. It's just peace. That's your default. If that's not where you are, then there are some things that are keeping you away from it, or there's something that's pulling you out of that. But regardless, that is who you are. That's your baseline, okay? And so another question that could come from that is, okay, so let's say I do love myself. If I love myself, then why would I get out of bed? Why would I go to the gym? Why would I work a job and earn money? Why would I, it becomes a question of motive, right? And that's actually a fair question too, because what I'm trying to do for someone who may be questioning why they don't love themselves, if this is a new concept to you and you've never thought of it this way, then what I'm trying to do is explain what water is to a fish. And by that, I mean, you're so immersed in the distractions of not loving yourself that you can't imagine it any other way. It's like walking up to a fish and saying, there are other creatures who don't live in water. They don't swim. They don't do this thing that you're doing. And then the fish would say, what is swimming? What is water? What are you talking about? This just is. Like, it's not like this is water. This just is. They're so immersed in it that they can't think of it any other way. And there are people out there like that. You might be one of them. And I really pray that you're not, because it's really sad. But like, you know, there are some people where all they know is doubting themselves. All they know is insecurity. All they know is self-hatred. And they know it so intimately and so thoroughly that the idea of anything else is just so foreign that they have a hard time even grasping it. But I'm going to do my best to explain it anyway. Is as far as motivation, why would you do anything? The reason why is it becomes a form of expression. It becomes a way of you exploring that feeling of self-love and self-assuredness and exploring your capabilities rather than trying to prove them, rather than trying to show that you have them. It's like they're already there, and I am enjoy using them. So you're not going to the gym to prove that you love yourself. You're not going to the gym to try and earn self-love. It's more like, I'm going to the gym because I love myself. I don't lift these weights in order to become strong. I am strong, and so I lift these weights. It's a very subtle thing. It's a very subtle difference, but you become less concerned with striving and trying, and it just becomes more a matter of just doing and being. And so the big thing with that too is when you're coming from a perspective of trying to prove yourself or trying to earn self-love or trying to like attain it, you not only have the difficulty of the thing that you're already doing, right? Because it's hard working a job. Let's just inherently, right? It's easier to just lay down and do nothing, granted. So it's hard. It's already hard working a job. It's already hard getting into shape. It's already hard eating, well, harder, right? Relative to eating like the tempting, hyper-palatable, addictive foods. Well, that'll probably be a separate video. These things are already difficult in and of themselves. On top of the inherent difficulty of them, you are also trying to find self-love. That's an added difficulty. That's more weight. Life is hard enough. Life really is hard enough. And so if you take off that weight, if you've been having difficulty with doing these things, it might not be that you're incapable of doing these things. It might be that the weight of this on top of it is just too much to lift. And I don't blame you. This is heavy enough. This is hard enough as is. And so the goal is to remove that weight. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to do these things in order to be enough. You're already enough. There's nothing wrong with you. The people who are telling you there's something wrong with you, they're external. And by the way, your voice matters just as much as theirs, perhaps even more so, because this is about you. This is a game of you. And I think that oftentimes what prevents good, reasonable people from loving themselves is the fact that they're reasonable. Is they don't want to come off as crazy. I can't think of a better word for it. Is they want to take into consideration how other people view them. They want to take into account the different viewpoints and perspectives. They don't want to be unreasonable. They want to say, hey, like I know that they're expressing humility is like, I know that I don't know everything and that there are other people seeing things, and maybe they see something that I don't see, and so I'm going to consider it. But the problem with being reasonable when it comes to your self-value is that should not be negotiated. You cannot negotiate your own worth. You cannot negotiate your own worth. I'm getting a little bit fired up on it because I've lived that life where you're constantly negotiating. Oh, with this person I'm worth this. With this person I'm worth this. And you know, you're constantly showing up in different ways with different values, and you're just so insecure and you just want to feel okay. And nobody can give that to you. It's like you have to start with that. You have to give that to yourself, and you have to hold on to it, and you have to hold on to it tight, because there are going to be people who want to take that away from you for their benefit. They're going to want to step on your value to prove their own, and you're going to have to be strong enough to say, no, this cannot be touched. Okay, I don't care how much they're offering you. It's not for sale. Okay, if they're like, hey, I can give you the assurance of someone who knows what to do in the world, right? If you want to follow me, I can give you assurance of someone who knows what they're doing in the world. All you have to do is admit that you don't know what you're doing and you're not capable. You do that, I can make you feel good. Sorry, it's not for sale. I am enough. And you may have something that I want to explore. You may have knowledge that I'd like to attain, but I'm not compromising how I see myself for it. I'm not compromising how much I love myself. That's not for sale. That's non-negotiable. Whatever you're trying to give me, if that's the price for it, I'm sorry, it's too high. It's not for me. And that's kind of the place that you need to come to, is you just can't negotiate your self-worth. And that's a big roadblock for a lot of people, is they don't want that conflict. They don't want the friction. But unfortunately, there are going to be people in the world, not even with bad intentions. They could perhaps just be unconscious, but they're going to challenge your self-worth. They're going to challenge how much you love yourself. They're going to tempt you to put that into question. And you just have to refuse. You have to have the intestinal fortitude to say, this just can't be touched. We can put into question my behaviors. We can put into question the depths of my knowledge, but who I am as a person, like my value as an individual, non-negotiable, not for sale. And yeah, that's pretty much everything, right? That's your default. That's where you're supposed to be, like, undisturbed. That is where you are. And if that's not where you are, it's not because you have to go on some long journey to find the land of self-love and self-acceptance. It's like you were already there. This is your birthright. And we need to get you back to it. We need to undo the programming that taught you not to feel that way about yourself. We need to undo the programming and the experiences. We need to unravel them and figure them out and discern why maybe you invested in the idea that you weren't enough, why you invested in the idea that you were inadequate. And in doing that, we can lead better lives, we can lead happier lives, and we can be more fulfilled and fulfill others too. Because in loving yourself, that sets the groundwork for you to love others. It's not like I love others, and because others love me, now I love myself. It's like, no, you start from loving yourself, and you express that love to others. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next one.